Big topics, big stories, and big news. The Big Rich Show. It happens here. If you enjoy what we're doing here at The Big Rich Show, please remember to subscribe, comment, like, and share every video. Also, hit that bell icon so you can be notified when we upload a new video. Tonight, Gwen Clapper joins us. She is the founder of Beyond Perception Investigators. She is also the co-founder of Perfect Trust Productions. She is a producer, a director, and a psychic medium. She currently has 3 parts of her DocuSeries with Vanessa Hogel called Hidden Gems on their YouTube channel as well as Amazon.com. And welcome to the Big Rich Show, guys. Tonight, I have one half of the dynamic duo from Perfect Trust Productions, and it is Gwen Clapper. Now, you might not often see Gwen up in the front. She's usually in the back doing the dirty work. You know, oh, hey, look, there she is. But she is here with us tonight on the Big Rich Show. And she's looking healthy, she's looking good, and she's looking revived because she was going through some stuff there for a minute. How you doing tonight?
I am doing well, thank you. I am feeling much better. I've had a lot of stuff going on medically, but all that is like so last year, literally. Did you see what I did there?
I like
it. But I'm doing better now and looking forward to some stuff coming up this year.
Awesome. Yeah, you have been dogpiled with stuff. I know that you've been working on your book. Yes. We can touch on that in a little bit. You have been feverishly working on the Perfect Gem, or is it
Hidden Gems?
I said Perfect Trust Hidden Gems. I'm getting it all mushed together. The Hidden Gems, which you guys actually have on Amazon.
Yes.
And if you want to go out, and you have 3 of those released now.
We do have, the first 2 were actually released. We are waiting on Amazon to release the 3rd one.
Okay.
They've had it in their grips for almost a month.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes these things take a while. I've been checking it 2-3 times a day, sometimes more. I've actually woken up during the night and checked. And nothing yet. It's still showing us processing. I've learned that when you email them, all you get back is the same pre-written thing.
Yeah, they're all like that.
It's just a waste of time. So I don't know if they're just if maybe their market is a little oversaturated right now with a bunch of creators trying to get their content on. Maybe
right.
I'm not sure what it is, but. It's frustrating because we can't give an actual release date because we have in the past and it didn't work out.
Right.
So we don't do that anymore.
Okay. Well, I know that and as busy as I've been, I have only been able to actually catch part of the very first one, which was amazing. And I was looking at some of the reviews just this morning when I got up because I wanted to get an idea of what people were saying. And I'm going to tell you what, these reviews are just outstanding that you guys are getting. So fans and friends, if you have not caught the first 2, it's a must because this is your bare bottom down, everything's stripped away. You got Gwen and you got Vanessa over in Ireland. And they're giving you the raw, in your face, non-Hollywood approach to this. And people are loving it. They're eating it up. And if paranormal is your thing, you have got to check it out. So how many are you guys planning on releasing from this?
I sat down and looked over everything, and Vanessa and I came to the determination it'll be a total of 11 releases. Okay. With one of those being like a bonus reel. So you can be looking forward to a reel, if you will. They've got takeouts, the oopsies.
Yeah.
The extra footage, maybe some of the stuff that didn't make the initial cut because of timing or whatever.
Sure.
I'm also planning on after that, after the Hidden Gems is over, Hidden Gems Ireland, once that is done, and once we start releasing Hidden Gems stateside, which we'll be filming this year.
Nice.
Once we start releasing those, I'm thinking about releasing the interviews as a whole segment. People can watch the entire interviews that we had while in Ireland. The whole uncut version of it.
Okay.
Just as a little added bonus.
That'd be nice. And you guys had several good contacts there, and actually people that you didn't even know that were just giving you tons of information.
Yes.
Which I found amazing.
It was amazing because naturally you have a couple of foreigners in your country with these video cameras and asking people, hey, can we talk to you about this, this, and this? And we didn't immediately go to these people and say, hey, we want to talk about the paranormal.
Right.
Because we didn't want to base the docuseries strictly off of paranormal. It's Hidden Gems for a reason. These are stories of the people that live there, of their ancestry. And in the end, everybody, I'm hoping, will see the connectivity that we all have together. And it really is amazing just how connected we really are. By the end of this, it's mind-blowing. This next one that's coming out, which is episode 3, which we called Lessons Learned, we got to speak with some individuals there that were very informative, had extensive history within the town of Ballazreen, which is where we stayed. And gave us quite the history lesson on what we call over here, or what's known as the Great Potato Famine. It wasn't a potato famine.
Okay.
No.
So that's, that was all bull hockey, huh?
A lot of bull hockey there, and we learned a lot of interesting facts, and we also gained an Irish grandmother, I shall say, while we were over there. We shall call her Miss Mary. You will see her on episode 3. I'm so excited for y'all to meet Miss Mary. She is a hoot. I love her. Love this woman. Oh my gosh. She's like, yay big, but she takes no crap.
So she's pocket size, huh?
She takes no crap.
No crap. All right.
So I loved her. I mean, she made me and Vanessa, yes ma'am, yes ma'am, without even asking for it. So that ought to tell you what kind of a statute this woman really is.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
But we learned so much, and we can't wait to share it with everybody.
I know I talked briefly with you when you guys had first got back and you were just starting to unwind. And you actually had come on the show, and you guys had showed the idols that you had brought back in the different deals. And one of the stories that I still keep that fascinates me is the molding on the bread.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I don't know, I know there might be some people out there that didn't see the show, but I thought that would be an interesting little thing for you to touch on.
Yeah, that is actually going to be touched on in either episode 5 or 6. Because episode 5 and 6 are actually about the same location, but there was so much that happened, we had to split it into 2 episodes.
Okay, well, there's a little teaser then for you folks.
So here's a little teaser for you. Basically, in a nutshell, one night in our room, Vanessa and I were both kind of awakened. We could hear something, sound like something was messing around in the trash can. But there was nothing in there. I mean, there was nobody in there but us. There was no rodents. There was no cats. There was nothing like that. Nothing of the sort. So we're like, okay, we're both jet lagged. Let's all get up. We're going cuckoo, whatever. Well, the following day, we decide we're going to fix us some sandwiches. Oh, mind you, we bought this loaf of bread when we first got there. We're a little bit past halfway towards the end of our trip. And we were going to do an investigation on the house that's beside the motel and the motel itself. The house that's beside the motel, the original owner of the motel used to reside in this house. And the family that runs the motel now, they're all connected. It's all family the whole night. So Vanessa and I are like, okay, we're going to fix us a sandwich, you know, because we lived on peanut butter and jelly, and that's no joke. We lived on peanut butter and jelly. But hey, I was in Ireland. I didn't care, you know. Go ahead and get the sandwich, and we go over to the house, and we do this investigation. And there was one part during the investigation, I had to get Vanessa physically out of the house. I've learned red flags with Vanessa. I have learned, okay, I got to get her out of here because she does not shield, but she does it for a reason. I get after her about it, but she does her own thing. So right before I went to get her out, she had her head up against the wall in the house, and she was just like leaning and rocking and leaning, and all she kept saying was, the bread is moldy, the bread is moldy, the bread is moldy. I'm like, what are you talking about? So the next morning, after everything is done and over, we decided we're going to tidy up our room a little bit. It's almost time for us to go. So we're going to go ahead and start cleaning up some. We start cleaning out where the food is. The same loaf of bread that we just ate was completely molded.
Wow, yeah.
Completely.
That's crazy.
We thought it was the famine children telling us the bread was moldy, that there was no food, that we thought they were trying to communicate with us in that way. We think it was the spirits of the children in our room the night before going through the trash. And then when they went to fetch our bread later, the bread is moldy. That's what they were letting us know we were there.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's amazing, man.
But when she pulled that loaf of bread out, all I hear is, Gwen. Turn and I look and I go, and at the same time, we just looked at each other and went, the bread is moldy.
Yeah.
We got it right then. We knew it.
Wow. Yeah. Folks, yeah, you're going to have to definitely, I guess, wait, but for 5 and 6, you'll be able to hear more about that and see about it. So, I thought that was that story stuck with me when you had told it from when you guys were on the show last year, and I just thought I wanted to share that with the people tonight and have you tell that. So awesome. With your book that you're working on, you want to talk a little bit about that, maybe?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm a little timid about it because it is my first
Sure.
attempt at ever writing anything other than an EMS report or a police report.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit.
So it's my first attempt. It's going to be called Embracing My Strange, and it's a journey of belonging. It's about a kid, me, coming up in a very rural area of Virginia that was prone to paranormal activity. I was born in a town called Farmville, Virginia, and which, by the way, the original hospital is still there that hospitalized many of the Civil War soldiers during the Battle of Sailor's Creek.
Okay.
I was actually born in that hospital.
Wow.
The same building.
Okay.
Yeah. Coincidentally, my mother was also pronounced dead in that building years later. But I grew up in Cumberland up until I was about 11, but a lot of things happened growing up in Cumberland County, and come to find out it's a paranormal playground, as most of Virginia is. I've
a lot of it,
discovered, you know, a lot of our states are, rich in history. I think because of the historic value of Virginia, it's like 80% of the Civil War battles happened in Virginia. You got a lot of pre-Revolutionary War history here, and so, and what people don't understand is they're like, oh, but the buildings aren't here. They're not this, that. It's not necessarily the buildings, it's the ground. You cannot get blood, sweat, and tears out of ground.
Right.
It's there forever.
Yeah.
And it's some good experiences and some not so good experiences.
Right.
And it's basically, it's going to be about my journey and some personal things that I went through, developed, discovering who I am, what I'm able to do. Um,
Who
it took
are
me a
you?
while. Yeah, it's like, who am I? What is this? Am I the only one that's a what is this? And
Mm-hmm.
it was difficult growing up, not having anybody you could really talk to about it. And it was even more difficult when you would try to talk to somebody about it, the deer in the headlight look you would get.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter if they believed you or not.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want you to know that they believed you.
Right.
And they were crazy.
Yeah.
So it was difficult, but basically in a nutshell it's going to lead all the way up until when I founded BPI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. I keep forgetting that that's your style. I mean, my grandfather had a 500-acre farm in Mineral.
Wow.
Excuse me, folks, in Mineral, Virginia,
Mhm.
and we lived in Fairfax and Waldorf when I was growing up as a child. And actually, there was a civil war on part of the acres my grandfather had. There was a Civil War cemetery
Mhm.
under this big old tree, and it was fenced off by a wrought iron fence, and it had been there through the generations. Anybody who had bought or owned that property, it was there. It never was touched. And I had a lot of things happen to me as a child on that land and on that property. Not just me, my cousins.
Mhm.
We witnessed a lot of stuff, and so did my grandfather actually, because I talk about that in one of my shows last year about UFOs, where he had found like it was the perfect cow mutilation scenario that you would hear about. It was this cauterized hole directly through the center of its body, part of the mouth missing, eye, like it had been dissected.
Uh-huh.
And I remember the shit my uncle or my grandfather had woke, it was either Bruce or David and myself up, and we rode out there with him because he said the sheriff's coming out. He's going to make a report on it. And we just, you look back now as an adult, but as a child, you're not paying it any mind. You're just looking at that and you're poking at it, and you're just. And I remember him arguing with the sheriff, and he was like, I'm telling you, God damn it, David, this lightning hit that son of a bitch. That's all it is, And he's like, well, if lightning hit the son of a bitch, his hoofs would have been blown out. And, he was saying all these other things. My grandfather was. He goes, look at his
Mhm.
hooves. And he goes, and how are you going to tell me to put, this is like something went straight through the middle of it. And, but I remember them arguing, and I can vividly see it now, older, and it all makes sense. But back then, you're just kicking rocks as a child, not thinking anything of it. But a
Right.
lot of paranormal stuff happened to us, and we talk about it to each other, and we never really shared it with people. I've never really shared my true story of what really happened to me all those summers until last year on my show. I kept that to me because anyone that I would even lightly mention it to, they'd be like, yeah, right, you're crazy. So
Yeah.
I
Oh, I
just learned
know.
to shut up about it. I
Yep.
just kept it to myself, and I
Mhm.
tried to battle these demons on my own, and tried to research it. And there's books over here that on my desk I would buy to try and figure out what is going on, what was happening,
Mhm.
why is it still following me into my 30s and 40s?
Yes.
And it took until 2007 for me to finally shake loose of it,
Oh yeah.
and
But
now, yeah, it's
I will say, because I've even told Vanessa this the other day when I was speaking with her about it. Um, Writing this book has opened up a lot of memories that evidently I have suppressed.
mm-hmm,
Um, because when my team and I went through what we called the incident a couple of years ago, where I was jumped by something, and Vanessa was there. She was in Virginia at the time when it happened. That was as close to a demonic presence as I would have ever been. Anybody that knows how I roll know that I don't throw that word out.
Sure.
I'm not easily convinced.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen,
Mm-hmm.
just maybe not quite as often as people make it out to be.
It's super rare, I think.
That's just my thing. Okay. With that cleared, I'm not one that's quick to jump on that wagon when something really wrong happens to somebody on an investigation. It was clear, though, after a lot of dissecting and checking into the footage, that's what this was. It was a low-level demon. There was no two ways around it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, I've never been through that before. I don't ever want to go through that again, as long as I've been doing this. Well, I'm just hyping away. And it was like out of nowhere. It was like just coming through my fingers. And I'm typing about a certain thing that happened while I was at home by myself in this huge farmhouse we lived in Cumberland. It's always got to be the farmhouses,
Right.
And I'm just typing away, and all of a sudden it was like this memory, like this fog, just boom. And I was like, oh my goddess. Oh no. I have had a situation like that happen one time before. Mm-hmm. And I suppressed it and I blocked it until I was writing this book. Okay. Without giving too much away, I will say, for a 9.5, 10-year-old kid, it's not fun to rip open the door that goes down to the basement because you think you hear screaming, to have something that looks like it's on 4 legs come up the steps at you.
I just got goosebumps.
Only for me to slam the door, and the only reason why I remember it so vividly, it hit the door. Yeah. All this time, I had blocked it out. I had blocked it out. I was, like I said, 9.5, 10 years old at the time. I had blocked it out. This other event happened 4.5, 5 years ago. So I was 40, right at my 40s. Mm-hmm. I'm 45 now. Mm-hmm. All this time, I had blocked it out.
Now, is this the one where were you up there with Vanessa and her eyes had went?
Yes.
Yellow.
This is the one we were at the barn.
Oh, okay.
At the barn. Yes.
She said she had witnessed something that was almost like a spider.
That was it. Oh. Because I did not say what I saw. I was still in my own zone. When I got back to my house, I was still decompressing. Mm-hmm. She grabs a notepad and starts sketching. Just sketches. She flips it around. She goes, I'm only going to show this to you one time. If it's it, fine. If it's not, fine. Either way, this paper's going away from here. I said, okay. She flipped it around. I snapped my head. Mm. She drew exactly what I saw. Mm. She ripped the paper, ripped it, threw it in the ashtray, and lit it on fire. Mm. She said, nope, I'm not even keeping that one. I don't want it. Mm. I'm like, no. I don't want anything to remind me.
Yeah, that was spooky because she said it was almost like a collector.
Yeah, it's it's like a soul collector of sorts.
A low level, yeah.
Basically of children.
Wow.
And it's making me wonder now if this thing that we saw there wasn't connected to the thing I saw as a child.
Bingo, right. Amazing.
It's probably why it connected and latched to me. It remembered me, and probably why Sarah chose me to jump, because she knew that I was going to have that fight or flight, and I wasn't going to fight. Mm-hmm. But good thing I had Chris and Vanessa there, because I probably would have seriously have gotten injured, if not worse.
Right, sure.
Had I gone into that barn.
Wow.
Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind.
Crazy.
So, but I do know that I will see it again.
Man, I wish your book was done now. I want to read it.
But I do know I will see it again, but I'll be wiser to it
Sure, none the wiser.
this
Yeah, you'll be
time.
wiser.
I'll be wiser to it. Not going to say I'm going to be able to beat it, but I'll be wiser to it.
Hmm.
It's going to have to fight a little bit harder next go around.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
So.
Well, you know what you're dealing with now, so.
Kinda. Still feeling my way.
Right.
Still feeling my way.
So we've talked a little bit about the documentary. We talk about your book coming out. You were in EMS for years.
Yes.
Okay. That's kind of, I know it's probably tough for you, but I really wanted to touch a little bit on that tonight. And for everybody out there, I know sometimes their curiosity, and everyone's, it's only a part of being human, would wonder, doing that type of work, the experiences that you dealt with from the other side, you know, because you're able to tap into that. So, and how that affected you, and how it, not only you, your job in general. I mean, it's almost like carrying an extra burden to work every day.
It was. It was. It could be a burden sometimes. Sometimes it was a valuable tool.
Okay, I like that.
Kind of hard to explain how it was a tool, other than we would be en route to a location and I would just suddenly say, nope, nah, I don't like the way this is going. And of course, whoever's with me is like, what are you talking about? You know? And I'm like, no, they're going to be coded by the time we get there, man. This isn't going to work out. We might want to think about getting medical control on the phone. They're like, they haven't even said they started CPR. It was just difficulty breathing. Within a couple of minutes, medic, whatever truck I was on, be advised, CPR's in progress.
Wow, yeah.
So it was almost like, I'm not laughing about it, but I find it kind of quirky in a way, how they're like, oh, she's on the way. Oh, girl, ain't no need.
Right.
It was almost like they were trying to let me know, but of course, by law, we got to go anyway.
Yes.
I can't stand there in front of a court and say, oh, well, their spirit told me they were dead.
Right.
You know, it's not going to fly. It's not going to fly. So,
book this woman.
yeah, oh, girl, don't worry about it. You know, y'all go back to bed. It had its ways. And now, something else that I haven't really shared with anybody is I've had spirits warn me. I've had them warn me. We've had a couple of one in particular was an accident that we were working, and everything was already chalked and stabilized, which is what the fire department usually does. You know, they take the wood blocks and stuff. They'll take wood tiles or whatever it is that they use. We call it cribbing, and they'll, on the vehicles that aren't exactly stable, that are teetering off the side of the road and stuff, and they'll crib it to keep it from moving so we can get our patients out.
Right.
Well, we were trying to get one out. This was years ago. This was early in my career. I'm talking, I might have been an EMT maybe 3 or 4 years. And unfortunately, it was during a really bad snowstorm. And unfortunately, it was a DOA. And so we had what we called a recovery mission. It was no longer rescue. We had to do recovery. And, we checked, everything, the cribbing is there. Everything's good, We had no reason not to trust the guys. I mean, you got to have your level of trust doing that line of work, okay? Somebody can get hurt. So, okay, everything looks good. We go to climb in, and right when I go to climb in, it felt like somebody was grabbing me by my EMS pants, by the pocket on my side right here, just pulling. And I was like, I'm looking around, there's nobody else in the car but me and the deceased.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm making sure that they don't have a dog or something, because sometimes people travel with their pets,
Sure.
you know, and I'm making sure, oh crap, is there a dog in here? You know, there's nothing in there. And I just kind of stand there for a second and I go, and I feel pulling again. I'm like, I don't know what the deal is. I back out the car and I'm looking around. And one of the guys looks at me and goes, what's wrong? I said, who is pulling on me? By that time, the car goes, stoom,
Oh, wow.
and slips off of 3 of the cribbing. Granted, it didn't go far.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I would have been over the body, it would have been enough for me to have whacked my head on the gear shift or something like that. It'd have been enough to clean my clock pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have killed me, but enough to hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as I got out, I was like, who keeps pulling on me? He's like, what are you talking about? All of a sudden, the car, you just hear it. And we're like, everyone's like, get back. And wham.
Wow.
And everyone just stands there. And the guy looks at me and he goes, who was pulling on you? And I went, because at that point, I still wasn't opening up to people about it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I was like, I don't know. I think over the years, I had people that suspected I was a little bit extra. But they never really said anything, you know, but they never really said anything.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that really got me were the ones that we would get there and there was nothing we could do, and you could hear them, or I could hear them pleading, sometimes screaming for us to do something.
That's gotta be tough too, right?
It's extremely tough. And what makes it really bad is when, especially in rural EMS, is when you show up and it's somebody that you know. That's happened a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We have shown up on calls where it's somebody's mom or dad that I used to go hang out with on the weekends when I was in high school. They used to make me dinner, you know, or after band practice at school, we'd go and hang out at so-and-so grandma's house and she'd come out with cookies and stuff. Well, now it's her that I'm coding on the back of my truck for having a heart attack.
Right.
You know, it was the calls like that you never really, it's almost like, why did I have to be working today?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's bad enough that they have to go, but I don't want to be the one to have to do this.
Right.
You know.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like it's like a second job, because you're wanting to go home and unwind from your job, and now you're going home and unwinding from your job, and then you're trying to also unwind from the other. You know, and that stays with you probably. It's something you just can't shake off.
It does, especially for the ones that you had a relationship with somehow. Like, for instance, if it was somebody I went to high school with and, like, I knew their mom or their dad and we coded them. They were in an accident or had a medical emergency or whatever. And we ended up coding them. I think sometimes because of that attachment in life, it made it a little bit more difficult for them to unattach from me.
Mm-hmm.
I would go home and try to relax. My daughter was itty bitty at this time. She's 22 now, but she was itty bitty at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just try to relax and do the mom thing and do what I needed to do, just to look up and see the person that I just coded standing in my hallway.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And I'm like, you can't do this. You can't. No. You know,
Right.
I had to learn boundaries. I had to learn how to start protecting myself and my family, even though they didn't mean me any harm. But I can't allow this to be an open depot, my home, for the deceased just to shuffle through.
Sure.
You know, I can't do it. Number one, it's not safe.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, can you imagine how mentally exhausting that would be for the living? Whether if you have
Yeah.
whether if you have abilities or not, you still have energy. They feed
Absolutely.
off that energy. It would make you so sick and exhausted you wouldn't be able to stand it. You know, so
Yeah.
it would it's been a learning experience. It really has. And I still to this day have ones that I have worked on years ago, and I will be, even where I'm at now, I'll be going to my car and I'll just look and I'll see them standing out in the parking lot looking at me.
Wow.
And I'm like, I see you, I acknowledge you, and again, I am so sorry. I think as long as I acknowledge them, they leave me alone. You know.
Now, people, I communicate with Gwen. You know, I try and touch base with her at least once every week or two. And you had sent me something too, because we had been talking about doing a show.
Oh yeah.
You want to maybe just touch on that one too, or that's up to you. We don't have to.
Yeah, that was, it was really. This goes back to synchronicities. Again, I think I've told you before, I don't believe in coincidences.
Right.
You know, I call them synchronicities. Well, years ago, the last EMS agency that I worked for ended up working it was a horrific, terrible accident. The young man was returning home one morning, and he fell asleep, and he overcorrected and ended up running headfirst into a tree. We were dispatched, naturally. We get out there, we check him, and he was gone. Killed on impact, no doubt. It was bad enough that my partner that I was working with knew the individual personally because she actually went to high school with him. Okay. So she's doing pretty good. She's holding herself pretty good, but I can tell it's wearing on her a little bit. So I'm like, you go up, because we were down an embankment. I mean, it was down an embankment. And I was like, you get your breath, and we'll wait till the state police get here, because we want to make sure that we're cleared before we move the body. Because you don't want to move a body without an ME's okay, because that's felony, okay? So state police get there. We move them. She actually helps me move them. We get them to the hearse, the whole nine. And I remember feeling really, really, naturally as a mother, I feel terrible. He was young man, and in his early 20s, had a couple of children, to my understanding, young children. So naturally, I just felt terrible, you know. I mean, how could you not, you know? So some time goes on, and my health, of course, I end up no longer on the squad anymore, and end up having to relocate with my husband and my family and everything. My health had gotten really bad, and he was filing for disability and everything else. And it was at the lowest of the lows, if you will.
Sure.
So we're staying with my buddy Loper, staying with him and his family, because they just bought this beautiful home, and they're like, no, you guys come and stay with us so you can get back on your feet. So that's what we did. So while we were staying there with him, now mind you, this is about maybe 3 years or more after the accident. I wasn't able to drive due to my medical conditions there for a while. So Medicaid was paying for transportation to come and get me, to take me to my doctor's appointments. Well, my transportation shows up one morning, and I managed to get out to the little van there, and gentleman, very nice gentleman, he helps me get up in the van and everything, and he has me sign the little pad, a little iPad and everything, and saying that he picked me up. And I'm looking at him, and he kind of looks at me. He goes, I'm sorry, but you look so familiar. And I'm like, I'm just laughing. And I'm like, I'm thinking the same thing about you. And he said, I couldn't help but notice your last name. He said, did you used to run rescue squad? And started naming these different localities that I ran rescue in.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, yes, sir. He reaches over and kind of taps my hand. He said, you worked my boy's accident. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh, not being mean, but which one? So I said, I did. He starts describing it. It's the same accident that the boy ran into the tree that was killed on impact. What do you say to that? So I sat kind of quiet while he talked about it. He seemed to be handling it okay by this point. Mm-hmm. And then he said, but I remember seeing that last name, because that's not a last name I see a lot of. I said, no, sir, it's not going to be one you see a lot of. And he said, but I do remember seeing that on the squad report when we looked at it. And I said, yes, sir. I said, that was me. I said, I'm one of the ones that had to pronounce him. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, can I ask you a question? And I thought, oh, no. I said, sure. Because, I mean, I owe the guy at least that much,
Right.
And he said, did he suffer? And this isn't the first time I've gotten that question from a parent. Mm-hmm. And I told him, and I was honest with him. I said, sir, as you well know, I was not there when it happened. But based on our training and based on the evidence that was before me, he was killed on impact. Mm-hmm. There's no way he felt anything.
Right.
And you would not believe how much of a relief that brings people to know that it was quick.
Yeah.
And so we got to talking, and he was like, so what you been doing with yourself? And I just kind of laughed. You're not going to believe this. So I start telling him about BPI, and he was like, get out of here. And I'm like, no, this is what I'm doing now. And I've got a friend named Vanessa, and this is before Perfect Trust, but talking about her books and our adventures and stuff that we've been on. And he said, so you can feel things. I said, sometimes if I open myself up and if they allow me to. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. They have to want me to. I can't force it. It's not a circus act. Mm-hmm. And he said, was my boy there? I said, no, sir, he was not. I said, I can tell you that with 100% certainty in my gut. He was not there. I said, but you get signs of him everywhere, don't you? And he smiled. He said, yes, ma'am, I do. He said, all the time. He said, whenever I think I'm having a bad day or when something's just not going right, he said, I'll get a sign and I'll say, yep, that's him. I said, because it is him. Wow. I said, you know what? I said, a lot of people believe that once you cross over, or if there's no sign of the victim there after this circumstance that happened to them, that they're gone, they've crossed over, never to return. I said, I don't believe that. I think if you went from here under whatever circumstance you went from, if you're okay with it, if you're okay with how things are going to be after your demise, I'm a firm believer that you're able to come and go.
I like that.
I think you can come and go as you please. You're a spirit. You're a ball of energy. What's going to stop you? What's going to stop you?
Yeah.
Think about it. Now, I've heard of earthbound spirits, and those are typically the ones that have unfinished business. They're unable to really go anywhere because they got to take care of stuff. And he was like, well, he was so young, and with him being killed so quickly. Good point. You would think he would have unfinished business. I said, but let me ask you something. Was he loved? Yeah. Did he have the just the undying support of his family? Did he know if something happened to him that his children would be okay? Yeah. I said, he's fine. He's okay.
Amazing.
You know, and he was like, I didn't think of it that way. I was like, he's okay. I said, but you know what I think is funny? I said, what I think is funny is it's been this long amount of time since he passed. You and I have never met. We have never spoken. But this is how we meet. You're taking me to a doctor's appointment.
That's wild, yeah.
You know, and he was like, that is kind of messed up, isn't it? I was like, I think this is his way of communicating with both of us. He wanted us to meet.
Sure.
Because you had questions and he knew that I might be able to help you.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, then after that happened, a couple years go by. And he and I are friends on Facebook now. The father. And a couple years go by, you and I are scheduling this interview right here. The same day that you and I are talking, and you were like, I'd like to incorporate maybe some of your EMS, paranormal experiences. And I'm like, yeah, I hadn't really talked a whole lot about them, but okay, sure, why not? I go to check my Facebook, and lo and behold, what is posted on my feed?
Yeah.
The young man's father posted a memorial for the young man that passed away because that day was his birthday.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you sending me that.
The deceased birthday. I even sent you the link to it.
Yes, you did.
I'm like, you are not going to believe this shit.
I know. I was like, wow. Yeah,
to me, that was confirmation of him communicating again. Because all this time, I'm like, I don't know if I really should talk about a whole lot of this public. But it was his way of letting me know, you can talk about my story. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. And it's just, of course, I never give names. Because even in death, HIPAA still apply.
Yes.
I was a med legal instructor too, so HIPAA still apply, but it's synchronicities like that I think about it, and I'm like, I think during our last interview with you, I said I spent 20 some years helping the living. I decided it was time for me to help the dead. And you know what? I think I made the right decision.
Absolutely.
I think I did.
Well, look at you, man. You're more vibrant than I've ever seen you. So
I feel alive.
You are. I mean, you're doing your thing, Gwen, and that's why I wanted people to be able to get to see you and experience, this side of you, because a lot of times you are overshadowed, and I'm not just saying that with,
I just kind of hide. Yeah, I'm the youngest of 7. I'm used to it.
And that's your time to shine, girl.
Oh, well, thank you. I do appreciate it. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity too. I really do.
No,
and I also want to thank everybody. Like, seriously, I can't even begin to start, but everybody who has been there, and you know who you are from the beginning of my paranormal journey. It hasn't been easy. It's been good. It's been bad. Sometimes downright ugly. But they have stuck it out with me, and I've been meeting new people and new friends such as yourself and our new friends in Ireland. And it's getting better and better. And I'm feeling more confident in what I'm doing. And I'm taking that, and all I want to do is share it and build on top of it at the same time.
Absolutely.
So
it's a very uplifting feeling, yeah.
Yeah,
And we're all here for each other,
absolutely.
to help lift each other up. Now, time has really gone by quick tonight. We're already almost an hour.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
Before you go though, you're gonna have to run the Gauntlet of Five. Everyone does the Gauntlet of Five when they come on the Big Rich show. So it's gonna be 5 questions,
Okay.
yes or no answers, and
Okay.
if you want to elaborate on any of the 5 at the end, after we do them, you're more than welcome to, or we can just let them lay where they lay. And with that said, number 1, do you believe in Bigfoot?
Do I believe in Bigfoot? Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Do you believe that we have been to the moon?
Sorry. Big brother watching.
Always. You're on my show.
I believe that there's more that needs to be. Next question.
All right. Number 3. Do you believe that pre-flood hybrids existed and still exist to this day? And where I go with that is, say, minotaurs, centaurs, mermaids, things that were in what they call mythology, but yet there were still stories written and there are paintings of them all throughout the ancient times.
That's a hell yeah, because we still ain't discovered the entire ocean yet.
Okay, I like that answer. Number 4, do aliens exist?
Oh, I could so get in trouble. Absolutely.
Okay. And the last one, this is more for fun. Is the Earth round, flat, or as Neil deGrasse Tyson says, pear-shaped?
I'm sorry, round.
And there you have it. Gwen has run the Gauntlet of 5, and I think she's had the most fun out of anyone I've had on the show that has run the pear-shaped. That's what he said.
We're not talking about his ideal woman here. Come on.
Yeah, I was watching an interview with him one time, and he said, yes, it's almost, I think the Earth is more like a pear-shape. Okay. Those are the brilliant minds, right?
Wow. That's interesting.
I love it. You've had the most fun out of anyone I've had on. Well, I won't say anyone, because everybody enjoys doing the Gauntlet 5. Is there anything you want to elaborate on the 5? Any of those?
Well, I would say the whole Bigfoot phenomenon. I mean, you have to look at where, the whole history of man with ape and all that good stuff. Whether if you believe in the Big Bang Theory or not, or you believe in this or that or the other, there's facts in front of you. Okay, the skeletal system, the whole 9. Okay, it just, hello, it fits too well. It fits too well. So is there a possibility of it? Why not? Why couldn't it be? Just because we haven't technically seen one doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Sure.
I mean, I know many people that have had paranormal experiences but never seen a ghost or never seen a UFO, but they know that it happened. Same basis.
Same, yeah.
Who am I to judge what their thoughts or what their beliefs are because of what their experiences are? It's not for me to judge.
Absolutely. I don't discount anything. I think anything is possible.
And as far as aliens go, hell yeah, they're all around us. They're in Walmart every day.
Sure, right? I love you.
Love you.
Oh, horrible. Well, folks, look, I had a blast with you tonight, Gwen.
I had fun.
I know, this is good. And I want to have you back again in the future. Get you on season 3, or get you and Vanessa back on even together maybe, and let you guys run a new Gauntlet of 5
Oh
together.
my word. Oh my word. Be careful whatever you run by Vanessa, because she's going to run you back over with it.
I know. She's been on twice and never officially even done the Gauntlet of 5 yet.
She has been able to evade it?
I know, right? One of the only people.
Oh, for shame.
But I think time was going and going and going, but I was not letting you get away tonight without doing it. Fans, there we have it.
On my forehead.
If you know Gwen, then you got to know a little bit more about her tonight, and you got to listen to her, how she feels about the Gauntlet of 5 and her feelings on those a little bit. Her book, which she's working on. Their DocuSeries, which is sitting there in Amazon at 3, and you're going to be able to see 5 and 6, which has the moldy bread.
Yes, the moldy bread.
Right.
And of course, 4 will be released before then too, hopefully.
Right,
so we'll see.
And then we got to hear a little bit about her EMS, days, and I thought that very interesting and very compelling. So, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for having me and for listening to me and all that good stuff. You've been wonderful.
No, absolutely. You as well. And I'm here to support you, and I always push you. And fans, with that said, get out there and check out, go to Amazon, and what is the name? So I don't get it wrong.
It's Hidden Gems Ireland.
Okay.
But you can also do a search under Perfect Trust Productions, and it should pop up as well. We are also found on Facebook under Perfect Trust Productions, and my team, which Vanessa is also part of, Beyond Perception Investigators. You can find both on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, a little bit everywhere. Heck, just Google it.
Right.
Just Google it.
Right. Social media, they'll pop up. You know where it's at, folks. We all live in a social media world now. Yep. So, go check them out and support them. And if you do know Gwen, well, hey, look, you had fun with us tonight. And if you don't, you had fun as well. And now you get to go watch some of her stuff. So, with that said, thank you for coming, sweetie.
Thank you, darling. I appreciate it.
Hey, always, anytime. And I'd love to have you back. And with that said, guys, God bless, stay safe, and have a wonderful night.